Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kastuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/Wisdom of the Sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kastuba Das. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Friday, but it's a special Friday. It's a Q&A Friday. We never do Q&A on Friday, but I'm not going to be here tomorrow because I'm teaching in New York City at the Bhakti Center all day long. So I'm happy to do Q&A day today with Kastuba Prabhu. All right. Good morning, Kastuba.
Good morning, Raghunath. How you feeling this morning?
I feel good. Feel good.
Good. Do we have some announcements today?
Yeah, what's going on, Mara?
There's a Bhakti Recovery Group meeting this afternoon at 3 o'clock.
Okay. And as Raghunath mentioned, we won't be having a show tomorrow. We'll be back Sunday with an interview with Jai Jagannath, pundit, scholar, Bhagavatam enthusiast.
We like
kirtan leader.
You know
dancer.
What? Yeah. I first saw Jai Jagannath in Vrindavan, and he was leading kirtan, and it was so beautiful. And he's so beautiful. I was like awestruck by the whole event.
Okay. Well, we're bringing him on the show.
It's great.
So that's on Sunday at 8 a.m. Eastern time. Also, I guess tomorrow latest, we'll put the details up for the retreats.
Yeah, 2 retreats the first 2 weeks of June. The first weekend is in Long Beach, California. You know, go away for the weekend with your friends. Yeah, take your spouse who knows nothing about Krishna consciousness. I'd really like to take you to California this weekend.
It may not be your spouse by the time the weekend's over.
And surprise them with hours of talks with me and Kastuba. We'll have a little yoga, little yoga, all levels yoga. Not enough to freak anybody out, but just a little something so we can hear. And we're going to be in beautiful Long Beach, California. And then around the corner from there is our good friend Tukaram's vegan restaurant, Ahimsa. It's not only vegan, it's prasad, means everything is offered with love. And then the following weekend, we're in New York City at the Bhakti Center doing the same thing, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday retreat.
11th, 12th, and 13th of June.
Yeah, and that will be the same weekend of Rath Yatra. So that Saturday, we'll take a field trip up to like 42nd Street and do the Rath Yatra parade. And if you've never been in it, it's quite fascinating.
It's a big dance party the whole way down Fifth Avenue to Washington Square Park. And then it's just like a party all afternoon in the park with kirtan.
Did you ever just want to dance down, Mara? Did you ever just want to like throw your hands up in the air and dance down Broadway? Well, here's your opportunity. You just
not
dance.
Broadway though. But
we
go
across
Broadway at 23rd Street, I suppose.
Well, that'd be funny if Mara's like, I'm just going to dance down Broadway. These guys will show up. You're on the wrong street. Oh, I forgot to tell you, it's Fifth Avenue, not Broadway. But it will feel so good, Mara. You won't care. You'll be aloof to public opinion. That was our theme yesterday. We're just dancing in this world, aloof to public opinion.
That's what we're going to do, right? Because you know what we'll do? When you get down to Washington Square Park, there's just like more kirtan, more dancing with aloofness to public opinion. Yeah. And we're going to have a Wisdom of the Sages table set up. We might have like some kind of I don't know, darshan, some kind of talk, even in the park that afternoon, right?
Yeah. Like a satsang in the park for all our people, kirtan in the park. I'm really looking forward to both
It-
these.
It's an incredible
events.
festival. You know, it's a traditional festival that we don't know how far it goes back, right? Thousands of years, probably.
They don't know. It's one of the oldest festivals in the world.
Yeah.
Not in New York, but it started in Puri. You know, we can tell all those stories during that retreat, but they're really
Yeah.
quite incredible.
Yep.
And we'll sing these beautiful
Jagannathastikam.
Jagannathastikam mantras.
Raghunath still has to wake up this morning. Get that mushroom brew, whatever you got there. Drink it.
For the others out there, I slept in today by mistake. I never sleep in. But nothing went off. Alarms didn't go off. I was in deep, beautiful sleep.
I was just
dreaming.
trusting you. You know, I was just like, okay, you know, it's like 3 minutes ago, but he's going to show up.
He'll show up. I broke our trust connection. Don't-
It's okay. I'll give you a second chance.
I'll give him 2 minutes. At what time did you call me
I called
exactly?
you at exactly 5 o'clock.
Oh, really?
And you're like, yeah, what? And I was like, yeah, are you going to start? Yeah.
You're like, it's Q&A day. I
Like
was
now?
yeah, I know it's Q&A day.
Yeah, you know, you were like, do you have something to say? I was like, yeah, start. It's Q&A day, right? Get going. He's like, yeah, but what time is it? It's 5 o'clock. No, really, what time is it? It's 5 o'clock.
I don't understand. My watch. See, now my watch
Technology
is moving
let
again.
you down.
My watch
Raghunath.
is moving again, and it says now it's moving, but it says it's almost 5 o'clock. All right, enough of this. Let's just dive in here.
All right.
All right, the first one's in green, Kostuba. Green
That
means
means
we
it's for both of us.
answer,
Yeah,
not at
both
the same
of us.
time. And it's from Nicole, our good friend and dedicated Zoomer.
Yeah.
She's so dedicated. I don't think she's ever missed a show ever. Nicole Seifert from Switzerland. I like to ask about Krishna's mercy.
Mhm.
It's a very common term, and maybe you can give a little more insight on what is actually meant by that. I've heard it can come in pleasurable ways. What? Did anybody hear that?
I heard something, but let's just keep going.
I've heard it can come in pleasurable ways as well as bitter and quite challenging ways. Also, if you don't mind, I would like to ask how both of you, how does Krishna's mercy manifest in your lives, Kostuba, and my life, Raghunath? Nicole Seifert, what you got for us?
Me? You want to start, or you want me to start?
You start.
Well, you know, like within like inner bhakti circles, people do use that term. Like, oh, that's Krishna's mercy. That's the mercy, God's mercy. It's a way of saying that, right? It's God's mercy. And I think she says like it can be bitter sometimes. Yeah, I think, you know, the idea is that when you start to see the world through the lens of bhakti, that even the difficult things in life, even the tough things, you say, well, that's also a blessing. You know, that's also some grace, some mercy of God, because it's, even though it may be bitter, even though it may be painful, it's really an opportunity to wake up to my true nature. It's an opportunity to see this world for what it is, understand life in a deeper way, etc. So then we'll interpret everything as Krishna's mercy, right? But you know, she's saying, how does it manifest? How do I think about it? Like, especially, how do I think about it? And you know, there's, of course, the term prasada means mercy or grace. And when you get to the end of the Bhagavad Gita, like the 18th chapter, especially like say, you know, the last 30 verses or so, or even last 20 verses or so, when you get into like text 1850, you know, in the 50s and the 60s, Krishna keeps using the term prasada again and again. You know, in 1856 he says, though engaged in all kinds of activities, my pure devotee, under my protection, reaches the eternal and imperishable abode by my grace. Right? Or if you become conscious of me, this is one of my favorites, 1858. If you become conscious of me, you'll pass over all the obstacles of conditioned life by my grace. In 1862, in reference to the Paramatma, to God in the heart, he says, "O Arjuna, surrender unto him utterly, and by his grace, you will attain Param Shantim, the like transcendental peace. and the paramsthanam, the eternal spiritual abode, by His grace. So when we say mercy or grace, like literally, it means like some kind of compassion or forgiveness that's granted to someone even though they don't necessarily deserve it or haven't earned it. And so I think we can think of it that way, that like when you think about yoga, particularly, like Ashtanga yoga or Jnana yoga, these are paths where it's largely based on one's endeavor, how hard you work for it, that you get it. And when we talk about bhakti, it's a combination of one's endeavor, but undeserved grace, right? It's just like, let me just demonstrate that this is what I want. Let me demonstrate that I'm willing to change. But even though I'm not a great yogi, even though I haven't perfectly controlled my senses, even though my mind is, tends to be always distracted, I'm hoping that whatever little sincerity there, I'll receive some grace. So I always, especially when I think of in terms of Krishna's mercy, I think of another term for mercy, anukampa, which we find in Bhagavad Gita text 10:11, where Krishna says, "Tesham eva nukampartam," to show them special mercy. He's speaking about, the previous verse said that those who are constantly devoted to serving Him with love, that He gives them the understanding by which one can come to Him. So then in the next verse 10:11, he says, Tesham eva. Eva means certainly, certainly unto them, anukampartam, I give them special anukampa, special mercy. And what does that look like? What does it mean? He says that the darkness born of ignorance, aham agyanajam tama, nashayat yatma bhavasto, I dispel it from their hearts. Right? Whatever darkness, whatever ignorance there is, I dispel it from their hearts. Jnana dipena bhajvata, by shining the lamp of knowledge. And so when I think of Krishna's mercy, it's especially that's what we're looking for, right? That our misunderstanding, that all these attachments that we have, all this ignorance, thinking this will make me happy, that'll have me, all the ways in which our minds are out of touch with our true nature, that a light can be shined on that, and we can begin to understand who we are and what we're meant for, and reawaken that divine love, which is our nature. So that's how I understand it. We may not have earned it as hardcore yogis, but because we decided that that's what I want, that Krishna can grant that mercy. What have you got to say about that?
That was good. That was good and thorough.
Okay. Thank you.
I've got nothing to say. No, my answer would be, what is Krishna's mercy? When you're actually completely convinced and fully understand that my life is no longer random. I don't have good days or bad days any longer. I am completely being taken care of by the divine, by Krishna, by God. Then everything that we're going through, we see, this is Krishna's mercy today. Krishna is personally blessing me today. And we see that even in tragic situations and so-called successful situations. There's just a constant gratitude that's like running through the heart, because you feel protected and you feel this is some divine plan. That's your default thinking. This is some divine plan. If you know my life, I'm going through some like stuff right now, and in that stuff, it's like I'm saying, it's got some sort of question marks behind it. And in that question mark, I'm fully like locking into the idea that Krishna's behind this. Krishna's behind all these things. And so it's a beautiful feeling of like safety as well.
Thank you, Raghu. You just got up, but you just came right through with that.
Just rolled out.
Shining lamp of knowledge is glowing in your heart.
Alrighty.
Question number 2.
Questions.
That means you read it to me, Raghu.
I'm going to read yours. Are you ready? This is from Down Under, from
Yeah.
Pran Gopal Prabhu, a daily Zoomer. I was reading through chapter 16 of the Gita and wanted to ask a question about comparing verse 1621 with 224. Verse 224. Both these verses reference the soul with different effect. 1621 says Atmana for the soul, and states that the soul can be degraded due to the effects of lust, greed, and anger. In contrast, 224 translates ayam as soul and states that the soul is unchangeable. When discussing the difference between body and soul, matter versus spirit, we usually define the main difference being the permanent nature of the soul and impermanent nature of the body. However, these two verses appear to contradict one another with regards to the nature of the soul. Is this really just a translation issue, or is there a deeper understanding to consider? Any thoughts or comments are greatly appreciated. He's a pundit. He's really studying this stuff.
Getting into it.
Pran Gopal. Good
Yeah.
question.
So in other words, text 224 describes the soul as stanu, as unchangeable, as achala, immovable, sanatana, eternally, right? So like the soul is something that never changes. Where material things change, they grow old, they shift. The soul is something that just can't be changed. It's always the same. But then it's text 1621. It mentions that kama, lust, krodha, anger, lobha, greed, that these are all nashanam atmana. They're destructive to the self, or that they lead to the degradation of the soul. So can the soul be degraded? Degraded means change, right? It's at one level and then later it's degraded, right?
Is that a word? Degraded?
Degradation. Degraded. What did I say? Degraded? What did I say? Is that what I said?
He just wants to use bigger syllable words.
Degraded.
Degraded.
So can the soul be degraded? And so, Prana Gopal is asking, is this just a translation thing? The way that I understand that is, there's a whole thing. When you get into studying like Eastern philosophy, they have these little different constructs to help you understand these things. Like there's names for them. I don't know all the Sanskrit names for them, but like there's a phrase where you analyze a phrase, like one that's commonly used is what we say that they live on the Ganges River, right? Like I say, I live on whatever. I live on 42nd Street.
Yeah.
Well, do you live on the street? No. When someone says that you live on 42nd Street, it means you live like on the side of 42nd Street, right? But like you're not actually living on the street. When you say I live on the Ganges River, it means you live on the bank of the river, but you're actually not on the river, right? Mm. And so when there are statements that seem to be contradictory, we have to find the one where it's being spoken about, where the language is looser, right? And understand that in terms of the one where it's more precise. And so of these two verses, the ones that's precise is text 224, where it says that the soul is unchangeable and immovable and eternally the same. And now text 1621 is interesting because the word atmana is used. Nashanam atmana. Nashanam generally means like destruction or something like that, but here it's being translated as degradation. That is, or it's destructive to the atma. Now, of course, the word atma, it doesn't only refer to the soul. It can also be used. It's tricky, right? It's like, why would you use that word? But it can mean the body, or it can mean
and the soul,
or the mind, the body, the mind, or it's because in one sense those are selves, but they're not the true self. They're kind of like a temporary artificial self. So you could translate text 1621 as that it's destructive to the mind, right, or degrading to the mind. That lust, anger, and greed are degrading to the mind. But even still, if you want to say that it's and Srila Prabhupada did translate it as the soul, it's degrading to the soul, we can understand it as meaning, try to think of it like this. Like say I was driving a very fast car, like I had a Porsche, and I could drive, my ability to drive a car, it's like really opened up when I'm in a really good car like that. I can drive very fast, very smooth. But if the next day I didn't have that car and I just had like a real piece of junk car that I couldn't drive as fast, it didn't drive as smooth, in a sense, you could say, well, Kastuba got degraded there, right? But it's not that I was actually degraded, but my car was degraded, you know.
Mm.
So you might in a human way, using language more loosely, you might say Kastuba just got degraded. But I'm still the exact same guy. I'm just in a different car. The car was degraded. And so similarly here, we're saying that it's not the soul that's actually degraded. It's the mind that becomes degraded, right? When when lust and anger and greed take root in the mind, well, you're still the exact same soul, but you're working through this degraded mind. You're working through this mind that's come down some notches. You're right.
Basically, Pran Gopal is telling Krishna to be a little bit more specific. next time you're thinking about it, your next Gita, Krishna, your next conversation. Yeah, you don't live on the street. You live on the building near the street.
But the value in the translation is that it's when you say it leads to degradation of the soul. Then when you hear that, you say, "Oh, you know, I need to protect the soul, right? I need to protect myself." It's again, the soul can't be degraded, but like my experience in life, you know, what I'm experiencing, I need to protect that. So, you know, it's a good translation, but it's a looser translation.
Very good.
All right. Okay.
Hey, man.
All right. So I got a question for Raghunath. I'm going to hit him with my best shot, or the best shot of an anonymous emailer.
No, anonymous drives me crazy. Now, you're always allowed to write anonymous because sometimes we don't want our names in there. But my mind starts going, it's her. It's her. I'm looking at the Zoom thing. It's probably her. It's definitely her.
What about him?
It could be him. It could be him.
All right.
Like anonymous, that's going to keep me going all day long. Like, who was that?
All right.
Maybe it was Mara. Maybe it was Mara.
It could be Mara. We don't know. Here goes. After, I'm almost ashamed to say.
It's got to be Mara. It's got to be Mara.
After, I'm almost ashamed to say, a few decades, Bhakti Yoga came back to my life for the third time. So this is a person that's been going back and forth. I was practicing Bhakti, then I dropped it. Practiced it again, dropped it again. Now the person's saying, I'm almost ashamed to say it's come back after a few decades of this, it's come back for the third time. Well, that's great.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah. Although, thanks to your offerings, things make more sense now and on so many levels, and I'm feeling not as lost as I did decades ago, I'm yet again feeling overwhelmed and wouldn't like that to put me off, as the feelings and the pull that are arising within me are strong and real. Okay, there's a battle going on here. I took your advice and started chanting Hare Krishna once per day on my mala, on my beads. Right? But somehow it doesn't feel enough. The Q&A days were quite valuable, and I got an insight to how people started their practice. Yet I haven't quite found answers to my questions, or rather ideas where and how to proceed in the life situation I'm in. Okay, let's hear about that. I'm in my late 40s, a mother of two kids under 10 with a full-time job. That's a challenge right there.
That's practically undoable.
Right, no, I spoke. Right. Undoable. Okay, so she's in her late 40s. She has two kids.
Under 10.
Two kids under 10. Most stories I've heard start with a moving into an ashram for a number of years. Leaving my life behind to do the same is not possible. And all is not possible at all. I'm sorry, I'm reading this not so well. Most stories I've heard, most stories of people practicing bhakti, they start with moving into an ashram for a number of years. Leaving my life behind to do the same is not possible at all at this moment. I searched online to find a center or someone to contact where I live, and I found nothing. So I decided to contact you in hope that you'd be able to direct me in my personal practice for a start. So I'm 40 years old. I've got two young kids. I'm trying to practice bhakti, but I go back and forth. It's a struggle. There's no real association of other people practicing bhakti in my area that I can find. Help, Raghunath.
Help. And you got to leave those kids. You just got to walk away, drop them off at school that day, and just keep driving. You drive to the nearest temple, drive to India, drive across the Bering Strait, get it.
Go to Tibet.
Go right. They'll take care of themselves. Trust God. Just kidding. Don't do that. No, that's your beautiful situation. Matter of fact, I'm going to sound like the Buddha here. She says, I'm chanting 1 round. It doesn't seem like enough. Now listen closely here. You chant 2 rounds now. I was waiting for you to say that statement. It doesn't feel like enough, because most people are like, all right, that's a lot. 1 round, that took me forever. Now you chant 2 rounds. And this is the beautiful Krishna's mercy. Jumping back to that first question, this is Krishna's mercy. You're in a situation that seems like, oh, my square peg won't fit into this round hole. Wrong. It's completely set up for you perfectly now. Wisdom of the sages has come into your life. You can look at it as Krishna is taking care of you exclusively. Forget all about us. Krishna is actually zooming, no pun intended, right into your life to take care of you with a podcast that happens pretty much every day. And that's your sadhana now. It's your sadhana to hear the Bhagavatam every day with us. And if you miss it for some reason, you can back listen to it. You can miss it listen later in the day. You can binge listen to it. And you have your japa and taking care of your kids. And check this out. You become spiritually conscious. And what does that mean for you? You have a little altar in your house. You cook and you offer your food. You offer some incense. You show your kids what you're doing. Those kids are becoming purified by your association. First of all, you're a mom. Kids take your lead, especially when they see something good is affecting your heart. And this is where my mother is going to take shelter when she's upset, when she's sad, when she's going to chant her japa, she's going to go for a walk. Let's all go for a walk, kids. I'm going to chant. And if you want to chant, why don't you chant? You'd be amazed how Krishna is setting everything up in your life for the purification of you and the children. Sometimes in my own life, I start to think, man, I'm so dented. Maybe I'm what they call, I think it's like collateral damage. I can't remember if that's the word, but you know how like they send in the infantry understanding they're all going to die so that second wave of soldiers can take, like they did in Normandy when they stormed Normandy. Okay. Sometimes I feel like Krishna's just using me to make my kids Krishna conscious. That's sometimes how I feel. He's just,
I go down in the fight.
I'm going down, okay. but I've created something for them to walk upon. Okay. You can prop up my body and shoot behind it. So sometimes our Krishna consciousness, we're giving it to somebody else. And Krishna has put you, anonymous, Krishna has put you in this situation as a parent, isolated, to go really deep here. And you can. Now we love the association of, I don't live near a temple either. We just have to create it wherever we are. It's nice if there was, but I will say this. If you can develop this Krishna consciousness isolated in wherever you are in Wisconsin or, Iowa, wherever there's no temple, if you can create that Krishna conscious atmosphere, it's very powerful because you're doing it without like human association. And watch, Krishna will send people to you because it just works like that.
That's how it works.
That's how it works.
That's Raghunath's promise to you.
And that's my promise.
Okay, just keep trying. All kind of things can happen, right?
Yeah.
All right.
By the way, you're not off the hook. You got to chant 2 rounds a day there, Miss Anonymous. 2 rounds a day now.
And there's just so much good content online too. Just try to plug into that, make that a regular thing, right?
So much stuff. I don't even know where to begin on my YouTube.
Spiritual scientist, Chaitanya Charan, right?
Yes, YouTube search the spiritual scientist.
Radhanath Swami's got so much great stuff out there.
So much. We don't have to listen to us.
Raghunath's always got the Mahabharata going.
Yeah, here's the deal. Yeah, here's the deal. I understand you could get sick of me. Listen to somebody else. That's okay.
You don't mind going down for that either, right?
I'm not attached. Yeah, I'll take that. You can step right over me.
Okay. Very good.
All right. Is Krishna, here's one for you, Kaustubha. Is Krishna's original form, I asked this cute question once too, in the old days. Is Krishna's original form concrete or abstract?
Did you use those exact terms?
He did. He said, no, I didn't use concrete. I said, is it real? Like, can you like hug him? You know, when he was appearing on the planet, or was he like when you hug him, do you like go
Just
through him like an
disappears?
apparition?
Okay.
Is Krishna's original form concrete or abstract? I say concrete. I can touch his deity form. Oh, he says I say concrete. I can touch the deity form as well. He, Krishna,
This is not here. This
has
is
a
Ram. This comes
name.
from Rama Devi Dasi, by the way.
Ooh,
Devi
Rama,
Dasi.
Rama,
It's a she.
Rama. I think her name is Rama.
Okay, Rama.
As well as he, Krishna, has a name, form, friends, family, a personality, and an identity.
So she's saying
A
concrete.
friend, yeah, she says, I feel like he's concrete. A friend feels that Krishna's original form is both concrete and abstract, whereas others deny Krishna's original form completely.
Mm.
Please help. Rama Devi.
Try. Well, you know, when I first thought this, I said, that was my first thought, both concrete and abstract. But then when I thought about it more, I said neither. Is neither concrete nor abstract, right? So concrete means existing in a material or physical form, right? And abstract means existing as a thought or an idea, but not having a physical concrete existence. So like one example you can give is like something that's concrete, you can touch it. Whereas like something abstract, it's like a noun, but it's a noun like freedom. Can you touch freedom? You know, it's like, it's not an object like that. It's a noun, it's a thing, but it's not a thing that you can touch. So what is Krishna's form? Well, it is concrete in the sense that you can touch him. He can touch you. He's there. He's not just like an idea, but he has a form you can touch, but it's not a material form. So if your definition of concrete is existing in a material or physical form, it's a form that's not subject to the laws of material nature. It's not subject to time. Doesn't grow old, right? What's your verse there that you love to quote, Rogo?
Advaitam achyutam anadim anantarupam adyam parana purusham nava yovanam cha.
Yeah.
He's
It's
the
an-
oldest. He's so old, yet he's so fresh and young.
Yeah, right.
Who can
So
understand?
form's been around forever, but it's not subject to the material laws of age. It's anantarupam. It's an unlimited form. So you can touch him. You can, you know, he's concrete in the sense he's not just an idea, but that form is different than any other material form. It's not subject to the laws that material forms are subject to. Therefore, I say you need to create a new category, transcendental concrete. Right.
I like that.
Right. Transcendental concrete. It's a form that can be touched. It's a real thing, and not just an idea, but not bound by any of the laws of material nature. That's Krishna's form. You know, when we talk about the spiritual realm, the material kind of, you could say material laws, but like the way that we think in terms of material things, we're conditioned to think in terms of the material. And so it's difficult for us to shift our mind or expand our mind or stretch our mind to try to understand spiritual form. How can form be unlimited? Form sounds like by definition it's limited. But Krishna has a form that's unlimited. Yashoda looked in, you see, like Krishna's form, it's concrete. Mother Yashoda tied it up. But when she had a rope that was 2 inches too short, she went and got another rope that was longer than 2 inches and extended it, and she still couldn't tie him up, right? It was still too short. You know, when she looked inside his mouth, which is just this little tiny mouth.
Tiny.
Right? The whole universe was in there, including him with his mouth and her looking in it, you know? So it's like
no material sense whatsoever.
Yeah. So you can't, and someone may say, well, okay, well, now you're just talking like silliness. This is like nonsense. This is, you know, it has no reality, because reality means there's like 3-dimensional existence and form is limited. But, you know, even like scientifically, you know, people understand, oh, there's potential for more dimensions, you know. It's just a question of what we can perceive. So we need to stretch our mind and understand that there are dimensions beyond what we can perceive, according to these ancient texts, that there could be a form that's unlimited, but still a form, right? And so that's what it means. If we're going to understand Krishna, if we're going to understand Krishna's form, it means that we're going to have to hear these descriptions with an open mind, and allow ourselves to consider our own limitations, right? Rather than try to impose our limitations on transcendental form, we have to consider our own limitations and how they may limit us from understanding something that's beyond our experience. That's the approach that it takes. But it all starts to make sense. It all starts to click. So my answer, I hope this is helpful, Ramadevi, but I would say neither concrete nor abstract, transcendental concrete.
Very good. Very good.
All right.
By the way, there's the message board is so good.
Is it lighten up?
It's lighting up. You know, it's like Chris Shungi says like about the previous thing.
Shangi
She's
always
like,
has good comments.
she always has good comments. She lives quite isolated in Finland.
Oh, this going
And
back to the previous
She's
question.
going back to the previous question. She's like, I live isolated, and she found it to be a blessing because
One of those
because what?
crazy devotees.
Yeah, no, because you're forced to become more Krishna conscious and have your own Krishna conscious programs. You invite people to your house and say, hey, I've made dinner and I've offered it to Krishna. And I'm going to do it. You know, you just put up a sign that says Bhagavad Gita reading every Friday night. And all of a sudden you become the temple. It's amazing.
That's a positive spin on it. That's seeing it as Krishna's mercy, right? You know, that reminds me now that you've mentioned that, advice that my guru gave to a friend of mine once, right?
Do tell.
And he was like, I really liked him. You know, he was a close friend. But you know, he had a mind that was just like sometimes troubled, you know, just a little easily angered, easily annoyed.
Give me a name.
Nice. This is anonymous. I'm not going to give you a name. Maybe later. And so, but just totally sincere guy, lovable guy, but just a little bit, you know, like, you know, easily annoyed. Let's put it that way.
You talking about me?
How did you know?
Lovable but annoyed.
So he was living near a temple, relatively near a temple, and he was thinking of kind of moving into that ashram and living there as a part, because it seems to make sense. You know, if you add up the equation, you know, more time dedicated, you know, in an atmosphere more secluded or purified in some way, right? You know, it would seem like that's the way to go. But what he said to him, I always thought it was really, you know, insightful. He said, it's better for you to be living outside the temple and hankering to live in it than to be living inside the temple and hankering to live out of it. Right. And so there's a few things that, you know, to that, but like maybe the most significant one here is it's not really your external situation. Like even like, in other words, the very desire to have or be something when it comes to bhakti is as real and as influential as actually being that. Like, in other words, I might not be humble, but if I'm dying to become more humble, that means a lot. It has real value, you know? So you may not be in the association of devotees, but if you're like, oh, I just wish I had the association of devotees, I just wish I had that, that is bhakti right there. And if you have the association of devotees and you're just like, I wish I could just get away, that's not bhakti, you know? And so which person's more fortunate, you know, which person's, you know, actually experiencing bhakti? It's the one that's hankering for it. And that hankering is really, we see it to the highest level of devotion, right? To the very pinnacle of devotion. It's about hankering.
Yeah. Every time you say, I really want to go to Vrindavan, I want to go back, the pandemic, I want to go back to Vrindavan, that is the highest level of an emotion you can have.
You're practically in Vrindavan when you're thinking like that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because, and we see that, you know, from the, there's that beautiful song, the Sad Goswami Astakam, the 8 prayers to the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan.
Mm-hmm.
And it describes, you know, their mentality. Now here we're talking about the highest level of bhakti, right? Like the greatest devotees of all, you know. And what is it? Hey Radhe Vrajadevike Salalita, hey Lalite, what was it? Hey Nandasuno Kuta. Where are they? Where are you, Krishna? Where are you, Radha? You know, I'm looking for you. I'm hankering for you. I don't have you right now. Even on the highest level, that hankering isn't it's an intense feeling when one hankers for something. And so when one is hankering for bhakti, that's a very deep level of bhakti itself. It's an intense level of bhakti. So that
Yeah.
hankering itself is great.
You just become obsessed with it, wander around, start looking. Where's Krishna? I saw Mara walking around Kinderhook. Krishna, where's Krishna? Where's Krishna? It's a very high feeling.
High level.
All right, what's we got here?
Okay, well, but I just answered a
You?
question, right? So I got one for you.
Okay, ready.
This is coming from David.
Hold it a second. It's Sachi's 16-year-old birthday, and she just walked
sweet
in
16.
today. It's her sweet 16, and she came down to listen to the show. Happy
All
birthday,
right.
Sachi. Come
Happy
here.
birthday.
Come on, give me a kiss. Come here. I love you. Happy birthday. What a best kid in the world. Everybody's waving and saying happy birthday, Sachi.
Happy birthday.
She's 16.
What does that mean to you,
Just
Roman?
start crying. I mean, thousands of things. I'm proud. I'm sad. I'm old. All these things.
It's a blend, huh?
It's a beautiful blend of emotions. Give me something, Kastuba.
All right. This is coming from David Swoboda. By email, he writes, after doing some other reading on this, I'm working on cutting out things related to the tamasic guna and fill my time with more sattvic activities and thoughts. Okay, been doing some reading and made some sense. A sattva guna, it's enlightening, it's contentment, it brings about a lucid mind. Rajaguna, no. Tamaguna, oh man, it just like leads to destruction, right? Darkness, laziness,
Yeah.
sloth. Okay, so he wants to improve that. He says, please share any other thoughts that you guys have on how to avoid distraction and do the work we know we are in this world to do.
Sure.
How to
Great
shake that
question.
tamaguna.
And it's great fire. Great question. You know, it's sort of like Vegan Trucker, Sean Murphy. He's like driving that truck right now. Imagine if he was just like, first of all, imagine if he's one of those Nepalese one-lane roads, you know, with no guardrails and cliffs on one side. And he's like just sort of like putting his hands behind his head and just like, no, you got to be like, to make this drive work, you got to be holding the wheels and you got to be very, very focused. And you need some guardrails because sometimes the oncoming traffic can cause you to swerve, isn't it? It's not just you. And I got to make sure I don't get any accident. You got to make, there's going to be oncoming. Yeah, there's oncoming stuff coming right at us. No matter how sattvic and wonderful your life is, you got to watch out for the drivers, so to speak, around you.
Someone could be sneaking up behind too.
Yeah, we want to like fortify our road with good guardrails and our focus and driving on the right side, the appropriate side of the road. So one thing we do is we rise early. That's a big thing about changing the gunas in our life or upgrading the gunas to sattva. We don't try to balance the gunas. This isn't Ayurvedic medicine.
Rising early, right?
Rising early. Yeah. I slept in today, Sachi, because Stuba called me at 5. So we rise early on a regular basis.
Which means you have to go to sleep early.
Yeah. Which means, now that's a big, now let me go with this. Hearing sacred literature every day. Every day you hear wisdom literature. The Vedas have a whole volumes of sacred literature, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, but it goes on and on like that. And hearing like this, we're hearing Bhagavatam or hearing a lecture. That's what we do in our downtime. There's always downtime. Don't say there's no downtime. There's always downtime. While you gotta cook something today, play an audio lecture, etc. Vegetarianism. Get out all alcohol, any intoxicants from your house. Get rid of them. You will find no good comes from alcohol.
I'm with you.
It's that simple. Right. You can say, well, you know, it's not so bad. There'll be no good that comes from it. And you say, well, I can handle it. It's a big deal. Here's the interesting thing. It might not be a big deal for you, but for someone that looks up to you, it might be a very big deal for them. Because there's certain people that can't have one glass of wine and they're looking up to you. I don't think it's completely evil to have one drink. You're right. We can have that argument with some people. How will they say? They'll say, well, what's the big deal? Because there's some people that can't. And history has proven that they can't. And there's a lot of people in the basements of St. Joseph Parish every Tuesday night that meets because they couldn't handle one glass of alcohol because it leads to 12 glasses of alcohol. So even if you can, there's people that can't. So get it out of the house. Just write that line in the sand. We don't do it. That's what our household doesn't do this. And if you can't do that, then just make that line in the sand for yourself because you're setting an example. Go to bed early. That's a big one. Go to bed early. That will change your gunas. And the last thing in your brain before you go to bed is also something transcendental. Play kirtan during the course of the day. Start to replace what you usually put in your ears and eyes and mouth with spiritualized things. This is radically start changing your consciousness. Spend time outdoors. Start to change your ideas of what recreation is. That's a way to change your gunas.
I got another one.
Yeah, what?
Keep your house really clean.
Clean your car. Clean your desk. Say nothing, Justin. Say nothing.
He's like, but.
But Rockenough, you're a mess. You say nothing.
You know, my superintendent just told my wife yesterday, he said, I really respect you for your cleanliness. You know, because the superintendents, they go through every apartment in the building, right? They get to see like what everybody does. And all the apartments are the same layout. So they get to see what everybody does with their apartment.
Right.
And my wife, she keeps this place spotless, you know, so much so the superintendent said, I really respect you for your cleanliness. But
you're pretty clean yourself, Kostuba. I know you like to give credit to other people.
No, it's especially on her. But it uplifts when you step into a nice, clean, orderly place, it's good for, and when you step into like, you know, a place that's all messy and dirty, it hasn't been clean. And
when I go over to Kostuba's house, it's almost like, did you ever see Peanuts when Pigpen comes? It's like there's like bugs flying around. I'm bringing my pig. He gives me, okay, Rockenoff, that's your tiny little corner over there. You go to that corner.
Keep your stuff over there. No, Rockenoff's like, let me throw this over there. Let me throw this over there. Let me just spread my stuff everywhere. But actually it's all Krishna. You're just spreading like spiritual awareness wherever you go, Rockenoff.
So yeah, you can, anyway, no matter what guna you're in, you can change it, you can upgrade it. And Krishna's got you. Krishna's got you. I'm happy for you, David Swoboda. That is a great desire.
You remind me of a wandering sage. You walk into the village and someone asks a question. You say, no good will come from this, I tell you.
What good will come from this?
No good will come.
Yeah, just invite me over your house, David. I'll come over there, start throwing things out. Okay, we don't need these books.
No good will come from this.
No good.
This television set, no good will come from it. I swear to you.
But I watched the Mahabharata video reruns. Nope.
As the television's flying out the window. All right, Raghu. Well, that's it for today, you know.
There were more questions.
Hey, we'll get to those questions next time.
All right. Well, and there's no class tomorrow. I'm going to New York. I hope I see you guys in New York at the Bhakti Center. I'm not sure.
I'll see you there.
It's sold out or not. Yes, Kostuba's coming.
I know Bhakti Louis is going to be there.
And Bhakti Louis there.
Any others or Zoomers?
Any other buddy coming there tomorrow? You got about
David
1,000.
Charles Wilson coming.
All right.
Anybody else?
Sachi got 1,000 happy birthdays, Sachi.
Maybe Sachi.
Thanks everybody for joining us. See you Sunday for Jai Jagannath at 8 a.m. on Mother's Day. And
Naked Vikings coming.
Oh, the Naked Vikings coming. This is going to be great. Charlie McKinnon says, hey guys, I started listening to Wisdom Sages back after Joe Rogan and have been on Zoom since September. It has been so nice to wake up and feel your sweet faces every morning, and I feel so fortunate for all the new understandings and support I've received through this journey. I've spent the last year going to school, studying to working with wind turbines, and just finished classes yesterday. I'm going to be starting a new job Monday and moving to the East Coast of Canada to the West Coast and won't have the chance to turn into Zoom. Charlie McKinnon.
Oh, man.
But he'll be returning with friends. our dear friend. He'll be coming back with the others. Charlie, it's been a pleasure having you here.
That's right, man.
And he's going to be out there, and he looks new. He just graduated. He shaved off that beard. He's a whole new man now.
He's stepping
Maybe
into
that's
new
part
life.
of your. Yeah, he's transformed. All right, so this dance is dedicated to Charlie McKinnon.